Imagine this. You're sitting alone in a dimly lit room, the glow of your screen casting shadows on the walls. The world outside feels distant, almost irrelevant. You click, scroll, and consume images, videos, fleeting moments of stimulation that promise relief, escape, even connection. But as the minutes turn to hours, something shifts. The initial rush fades, replaced by a hollow ache, a quiet unease you can't quite name. You tell yourself it's harmless, just a way to unwind, to cope. Yet, deep down, you feel it. A subtle erosion, a quiet unraveling of something essential within you. What is happening inside you in those moments? What invisible forces are at play, reshaping your mind, your desires, your very sense of self? And why, despite the fleeting pleasure, does it leave you feeling emptier than before? This is not just about pornography. This is about the collision of ancient instincts and modern technology, about the way your brain evolved over millions of years, is being hijacked by something it was never designed to handle. It's about the paradox of pleasure, how something that feels so good in the moment can leave you feeling so lost, so disconnected, so less. Consider this. You are a creature of desire. Your brain is wired to seek out rewards, to chase the dopamine hits that signal survival and success. But in a world where artificial stimulation is just a click away, those same instincts can betray you. What happens when your brain's reward system is flooded with hyper-stimulating content designed to exploit your deepest vulnerabilities? What happens when the line between reality and fantasy blurs, when the images on your screen begin to shape your expectations, your relationships, your identity? And here's the unsettling truth. You are not alone in this. Millions of people are caught in the same cycle, chasing the same fleeting highs, only to find themselves trapped in a labyrinth of their own making. But why? Why does something so seemingly trivial have such a profound impact on your psyche, your relationships, your sense of purpose? To understand this, you must first confront a deeper, more uncomfortable question. What are you really seeking when you consume pornography? Is it pleasure, escape, connection, or is it something else entirely? Something you've been conditioned to crave but can never truly attain. This is not just a question about pornography. It's a question about the human condition, about the ways we seek meaning and fulfillment in a world that often feels devoid of both. It's about the tension between our primal instincts and our higher aspirations, between the person you are and the person you could become. And so we arrive at the great question: what happens inside you, not just in your body, but in your mind, your soul, when you consume pornography? What unseen forces are at work, shaping your thoughts, your emotions, your very sense of reality? And perhaps most importantly, what can you do to reclaim control, to break free from the cycle and rediscover what it means to truly live? This is not an easy journey. It will require you to confront uncomfortable truths, to question assumptions you've taken for granted, to face the parts of yourself you'd rather ignore. But it is a journey worth taking, because the stakes are nothing less than your happiness, your relationships, your very sense of self. So, let us begin. Let us peel back the layers of this modern paradox, exploring the science, the psychology, and the philosophy behind what happens when you watch pornography. Let us uncover the hidden forces at play, the unseen consequences, and the path to breaking free. But be warned. What you discover may change the way you see yourself and the world forever. To understand the grip pornography has on the human mind, we must first confront a truth that is as ancient as it is unsettling. The human brain is not designed for the modern world. It is a relic of a bygone era, shaped by millions of years of evolution to survive in a world of scarcity, danger, and fleeting opportunities. Yet, here we are, in a world of abundance, convenience, and endless stimulation. A world that our brains are utterly unprepared to navigate. This is the root of the problem. Pornography, like so many other modern temptations, exploits this fundamental mismatch between our evolutionary wiring and our contemporary environment. It taps into primal instincts, lust, curiosity, the drive for novelty, and amplifies them to an unprecedented degree. But why and how? Let's start with dopamine, the brain's reward chemical. Dopamine is not just about pleasure. It's about motivation. It's the force that drives you to seek out food, shelter, and mates, the things that ensure your survival and reproduction. In the natural world, dopamine is released in response to real, tangible rewards. But in the digital age, it can be triggered by something as simple as a click, a swipe, or a fleeting image on a screen. This is where the trouble begins. Pornography offers an endless stream of novelty, a never-ending cascade of stimuli designed to keep you hooked. Each new image, each new video triggers a dopamine release, creating a cycle of craving and consumption. But here's the catch: the more you consume, the more your brain adapts. It builds tolerance, requiring ever more extreme stimuli to achieve the same level of satisfaction. This is the same mechanism that underlies addiction, whether to drugs, gambling, or any other compulsive behavior. But pornography is more than just a chemical hijacking of your brain. It is also a psychological and philosophical dilemma, one that touches on some of the deepest questions about human nature. Consider the words of Carl Jung, who warned of the dangers of the shadow, the hidden, repressed aspects of ourselves that we refuse to acknowledge. Pornography, in many ways, is a manifestation of this shadow. It represents our unspoken desires, our unmet needs, our deepest insecurities. And yet, rather than confronting these aspects of ourselves, we project them onto the screen, where they become distorted, exaggerated, and ultimately destructive. Friedrich Nietzsche spoke of the will to power, the drive to assert control, to dominate, to transcend our limitations. But what happens when this drive is channeled into something as hollow as pornography? Instead of empowering us, it diminishes us. Instead of connecting us to others, it isolates us. Instead of fulfilling our deepest desires, it leaves us empty and unfulfilled. And then there is Arthur Schopenhauer, who saw human desire as a never-ending cycle of craving and dissatisfaction. "We are like lambs playing in the field," he wrote, "while the butcher eyes us from afar." Pornography, in this sense, is the ultimate expression of Schopenhauer's pessimism. It promises fulfillment but delivers only fleeting pleasure, leaving us trapped in a cycle of endless wanting. But perhaps the most profound insight comes from Viktor Frankl, the Holocaust survivor and psychiatrist who wrote extensively about the search for meaning. Frankl argued that the primary drive in human life is not pleasure, but meaning. When we lose sight of this, when we substitute superficial pleasures for genuine fulfillment, we fall into what he called the existential vacuum, a state of emptiness, boredom, and despair. This, then, is the hidden problem. Pornography is not just a source of pleasure or a harmless pastime. It is a symptom of a deeper malaise, a reflection of our struggle to find meaning in a world that often feels devoid of it. It is a coping mechanism, a way to numb the pain of existence, to escape the pressures and uncertainties of modern life. But in doing so, it only deepens our sense of disconnection, our alienation from ourselves and from others. And yet, we continue to consume it. Why? Because it offers an illusion of control, a temporary escape from the chaos of life. Because it taps into our deepest fears and desires, offering a false sense of security and fulfillment. Because, in a world that often feels overwhelming and incomprehensible, it provides a simple, immediate solution to the problem of being human. But this solution is a mirage. The more we chase it, the further we drift from the things that truly matter: connection, purpose, authenticity. The more we rely on pornography to fill the void, the emptier we become. This is the psychological and philosophical root of the problem. It is not just about the content of pornography, but about what it represents, a desperate attempt to satisfy needs that it can never truly fulfill. It is a reflection of our deepest fears, our unspoken desires, our struggle to find meaning in a world that often feels devoid of it. And so, we are left with a question. What happens when we confront this hidden problem? When we peel back the layers of illusion and face the truth of what pornography is doing to us? When we stop running from the void and start filling it with something real, something meaningful, the answers lie ahead. But first, we must confront the unseen consequences, the ways in which pornography silently shapes our lives, our relationships, and our sense of self. You might tell yourself it's harmless, a private indulgence, a momentary escape, but beneath the surface, something far more insidious is at work. Pornography doesn't just occupy your time, it rewires your brain, reshapes your desires, and redefines your relationships. It is a silent architect, constructing a world of illusions that gradually replaces the real one. And the consequences, though often invisible, are profound. Let's start with your brain. Neuroscience has shown that the brain is not a static organ. It is malleable, constantly rewiring itself in response to experience. This phenomenon, known as neuroplasticity, is what allows you to learn new skills, form habits, and adapt to your environment. But it also means that your brain can be hijacked by substances, behaviors, or stimuli that exploit its natural reward system. Pornography is one such hijacker. Each time you consume it, your brain releases a surge of dopamine, reinforcing the behavior and creating a feedback loop. Over time, this loop becomes stronger, more entrenched. Your brain begins to crave the stimulation, seeking it out even when you don't consciously want to. This is the essence of addiction. A loss of control, a compulsion to repeat a behavior despite its negative consequences. But the damage doesn't stop there. Pornography also alters your perception of reality. The images and videos you consume are not just passive entertainment. They are hyper-stimulating, exaggerated representations of human sexuality. They create unrealistic expectations, distorting your understanding of intimacy, attraction, and relationships. Over time, these distortions seep into your subconscious, shaping your desires and preferences in ways you may not even realize. Consider this. In the real world, relationships are messy, imperfect, and deeply human. They require effort, vulnerability, and compromise. But in the world of pornography, everything is idealized, effortless, and instantly gratifying. This creates a cognitive dissonance, a disconnect between what you see on the screen and what you experience in real life. And the more you consume, the wider this gap becomes. This dissonance can have devastating effects on your relationships. Studies have shown that frequent pornography use is associated with lower levels of relationship satisfaction, increased infidelity, and a diminished capacity for emotional intimacy. Why? Because pornography trains your brain to prioritize novelty and instant gratification over connection and commitment. It reduces people to objects, stripping away their humanity and reducing them to mere instruments of pleasure. But the consequences extend beyond your personal life. Pornography also shapes your sense of self, your identity, your values. It whispers, lies about what it means to be desirable, successful, and fulfilled. It tells you that your worth is tied to your ability to perform, to conform to unrealistic standards of beauty and sexuality. And the more you internalize these messages, the more they erode your self-esteem, your confidence, your sense of purpose, and then there are the societal consequences. Pornography is not just a personal issue. It is a cultural phenomenon, shaping the way we think about sex, relationships, and gender. It perpetuates harmful stereotypes, normalizes unhealthy behaviors, and contributes to a culture of objectification and exploitation. It is a mirror reflecting and reinforcing the worst aspects of our society. But perhaps the most insidious consequence of all is the way pornography robs you of your agency. It creates a false sense of control, convincing you that you are in charge of your desires, your choices, your life. But in reality, it is pulling the strings, dictating your thoughts, your actions, your priorities. It is a puppet master, and you are the puppet. And yet, you continue to consume it. Why? Because it offers an illusion of escape, a temporary reprieve from the pressures and uncertainties of life. Because it taps into your deepest fears and desires, offering a false sense of security and fulfillment. Because in a world that often feels overwhelming and incomprehensible, it provides a simple, immediate solution to the problem of being human. But this solution is a trap. The more you rely on pornography to fill the void, the emptier you become. The more you chase the illusion, the further you drift from reality. And the more you surrender your agency, the harder it becomes to reclaim it. This is the unseen consequence of pornography, a slow, silent erosion of your mind, your relationships, your sense of self. It is a thief, stealing your time, your energy, your humanity. And the worst part, you may not even realize it's happening until it's too late. But there is hope to break free from this cycle. You must first confront the truth that pornography is not just a harmless indulgence, but a powerful force that shapes your life in ways you may not even realize. You must recognize the unseen consequences, the hidden costs, the silent erosion of your humanity. And then, you must take the first step toward reclaiming your agency, your identity, your life. The realization hits you like a thunderclap. You are not in control. What you thought was a harmless escape, a private indulgence, has become a prison, a labyrinth of cravings, distortions, and illusions. But here's the paradox. The moment you recognize the chains, you also discover the key. Breaking free is not about willpower or self-denial. It's about rebellion. A rebellion against the forces that have hijacked your mind, your desires, your life. This rebellion begins with a radical shift in perspective. You must stop seeing pornography as a source of pleasure or a harmless pastime and start seeing it for what it truly is. A trap that exploits your vulnerabilities, distorts your reality, and robs you of your humanity. This shift is not easy. It requires you to confront uncomfortable truths, to question assumptions you've taken for granted, to face the parts of yourself you'd rather ignore. But it is essential. The first step is to reclaim your agency. Viktor Frankl, the Holocaust survivor and psychiatrist, once wrote, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom." This space, this moment of choice, is where the rebellion begins. It is the moment you say no to the craving, no to the compulsion, no to the illusion. But how do you find this space? How do you create it? The answer lies in mindfulness, the practice of observing your thoughts and emotions without judgment or attachment. Mindfulness allows you to step back from the chaos of your mind, to see your cravings for what they are: transient, impermanent, and ultimately powerless. It is a way of reclaiming your agency, of creating that space between stimulus and response. The next step is to rewire your brain. Remember, your brain is malleable. Just as it has been shaped by pornography, it can be reshaped by healthier, more meaningful experiences. This process, known as neuroplasticity, is the foundation of recovery. It involves replacing old habits with new ones, old patterns with new ones, old rewards with new ones. But this is not just about abstaining from pornography. It's about filling the void with something real, something meaningful. It's about rediscovering the things that truly matter: connection, purpose, authenticity. It's about building a life that is so rich, so fulfilling, that pornography loses its appeal. This is where philosophy can be a powerful ally. Friedrich Nietzsche spoke of the will to power, the drive to assert control, to transcend our limitations. But this drive, he argued, must be channeled into something meaningful, something life-affirming. For Nietzsche, the ultimate rebellion was not against external forces, but against our own weaknesses, our own limitations. It was about becoming who we are, fully, authentically, unapologetically. Similarly, Carl Jung emphasized the importance of integrating the shadow, the hidden, repressed aspects of ourselves. Pornography, in many ways, is a manifestation of this shadow. It represents our unspoken desires, our unmet needs, our deepest insecurities. To break free, we must confront these aspects of ourselves, not with shame or judgment, but with compassion and understanding. We must bring them into the light, where they can be healed and transformed. And then, there is Viktor Frankl's concept of meaning. Frankl argued that the primary drive in human life is not pleasure, but meaning. When we lose sight of this, when we substitute superficial pleasures for genuine fulfillment, we fall into the existential vacuum, a state of emptiness, boredom, and despair. To break free from pornography, we must rediscover our sense of purpose, our sense of meaning. We must find something worth living for, something worth fighting for. This rebellion is not easy. It requires courage, discipline, and perseverance. It requires you to confront your fears, to face your vulnerabilities, to embrace your humanity. But it is also profoundly liberating. It is a way of reclaiming your life, your identity, your freedom, and the rewards are immense. As you break free from the cycle of craving and consumption, you will begin to notice subtle shifts in your thoughts, your emotions, your relationships. You will feel more present, more connected, more alive. You will rediscover the joy of real intimacy, the beauty of authentic connection, the power of genuine fulfillment. But perhaps the greatest reward is the sense of empowerment that comes from reclaiming your agency. You will no longer be a puppet controlled by external forces. You will be the master of your own destiny, the architect of your own life. This is the essence of the rebellion. A radical shift in perspective, a reclaiming of agency, a rediscovery of meaning. It is a journey, not a destination. A process, not a one-time event. But it is a journey worth taking because the stakes are nothing less than your happiness, your relationships, your very sense of self. And so, the question is not whether you can break free, but whether you are willing to try, whether you are willing to confront the truth, to embrace the challenge, to take the first step toward a new way of being. The choice is yours. Here it is, the moment of reckoning. The culmination of everything you've confronted, everything you've questioned, everything you've fought to understand. The ultimate truth is not just about pornography, it's about you. It's about the nature of desire, the search for meaning, and the essence of what it means to be human. The truth is this: you are not broken. Pornography may have distorted your desires, eroded your relationships, and clouded your sense of self, but it has not destroyed you. Beneath the layers of conditioning, beneath the weight of shame and guilt, beneath the illusions and the lies, there is something indestructible, something pure, something real. This is the paradox of the human condition. We are both fragile and resilient, flawed and magnificent, lost and yet capable of finding our way. Pornography exploits this duality, amplifying our weaknesses while obscuring our strengths. But it cannot erase them. It cannot erase them. They cannot erase you. The ultimate realization is that you are not defined by your cravings, your habits, or your mistakes. You are not defined by the images you've consumed or the fantasies you've indulged. You are defined by your capacity for growth, for change, for transformation. You are defined by your ability to confront the darkness and emerge into the light. This is not just a philosophical abstraction. It is a neurological fact. Your brain, for all its vulnerabilities, is also a marvel of adaptability. It can unlearn old patterns, forge new pathways, and heal from the damage inflicted by years of compulsive behavior. This process is not instantaneous, nor is it easy, but it is possible, and it begins with a single profound shift in perspective, the realization that you are not powerless. You are not a passive victim of your biology, your environment, or your circumstances. You are an active participant in your own life, a co-creator of your own reality. This is the essence of Viktor Frankl's philosophy, that even in the face of overwhelming forces, we retain the freedom to choose our response. And in that choice lies our power, our dignity, our humanity. But this realization comes with a responsibility. If you are not broken, then you have no excuse to remain trapped. If you are not powerless, then you have no reason to surrender. The chains that bind you are not made of iron. They are made of thought, of habit, of illusion. And they can be broken. Breaking them requires courage. It requires you to confront the parts of yourself you've been running from, the shame, the guilt, the fear. It requires you to sit with the discomfort, to face the void, to resist the urge to numb yourself with distractions. It requires you to be honest, not just with yourself, but with others. To seek help, to build connections, to embrace vulnerability. And it requires you to redefine your relationship with desire. Desire, in its purest form, is not the enemy. It is a force of life, a source of creativity, a driver of growth. The problem is not desire itself, but the way it has been hijacked, distorted, and commodified. To reclaim your humanity, you must reclaim your desire, not as something to be suppressed or indulged, but as something to be understood, channeled, and transformed. This is the ultimate rebellion, not against desire, but against the forces that have corrupted it. It is a rebellion against the culture of instant gratification, the commodification of intimacy, the reduction of human beings to objects. It is a rebellion for authenticity, for connection, for meaning. And it is a rebellion that begins within. When you stop running from the void, when you stop numbing yourself with distractions, when you stop surrendering to the illusions, you begin to discover something extraordinary. The void is not empty. It is full of potential, full of possibility, full of life. It is the space where creativity is born, where love is nurtured, where meaning is found. This is the ultimate truth. The thing you've been running from, the discomfort, the uncertainty, the fear, is also the thing that can set you free. It is the gateway to a deeper, richer, more authentic way of being. It is the path to becoming who you truly are. And so, the journey does not end here. It begins. The chains are broken, the illusions are shattered, and the path is clear. But the choice is yours. Will you take the first step? Will you embrace the discomfort, the uncertainty, the fear? Will you step into the void and discover what lies beyond? The answer lies not in your mind, but in your heart. Not in your thoughts, but in your actions. Not in the past, but in the present moment. The only moment you truly have. This is your moment. This is your truth. What will you do with it?